Good evening, everyone. So like I told you guys before, that I would be essentially sharing, some more information from my trip to Ghana. I think I've been back almost a week now. And the family and I, we had a really good time. We learned a lot. We saw a lot. We experienced a lot. And in doing so, there was a lot of places that we visited. And one of the two places that we visited, one being the most important, was the home of Marcus Garvey and as well as W.E.B. Du Bois. Now, we know that those two gentlemen are very, very famous for their journey into Pan-Africanism. We understand this, and we need to understand what Pan-Africanism was then and what is Pan-African is now. And somehow, some way, throughout the years, Ghana has been kind of like the hub of Pan-Africanism. Ghana has also been the hub of African-descended people returning back to Africa. And if you guys are not familiar with Ghana, it's a very small West African country. I think Nigeria is 3 times the size of Ghana, if I'm not mistaken. But you don't hear not too many Black Americans, foundational Black Americans, stating that they're going back to Nigeria. Most likely, Black Americans are going to Ghana, Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, Gambia, even Senegal. With trying to look to see what, I forgot the guy's name. What's the guy's name? Akon is doing in Senegal, making his digital city, so to speak. But nonetheless, let's get into the Pan-African piece again. The trip to Ghana was absolutely phenomenal. And we're going to go just over some basic things about Pan-Africanism. I'm working with my new computer that I built, so please bear with me. I'm still having a little bit of technical difficulties, but please bear with me, okay, ladies and gentlemen? So give me 1 second here. And we're just going to do a basic definition of what Pan-African is. It says the idea that peoples of African descent have common interests and should be unified. Historically, Pan-Africanism has taken the shape of political or cultural movement. There are many varieties of Pan-Africanism. In its narrowest political manifestation, Pan-Africanists envision a unified African nation where all people of the African diaspora can live. Now, unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, we know that is not what's going on in today, unfortunately, right? That's not what's going on today. There's been a movement, essentially, and I know you guys have been in and out of social media, that the new narrative and perspective that a lot of Black immigrants are coming over, basically spewing vile vitriol for Black Americans. And I'm not going to get into the vivid details of the reasons and why. Everybody has their angst about different things, but what we're going to do is kind of go back to prominent Pan-Africanists that through the course of time has tried to combine the diaspora through history, through unity, through our genetic makeup, okay? And when we look at this, when we look at these people, I'm also going to show you some personal pictures I took when I was viewing W.E.B. Du Bois' compound as well as his house. Now, with that being said, let's see if we can change screens here. I'm having some difficulties. Please bear with me, family. All right. So hopefully you can see my screen here. You see the Pan-African Congress, 1900 to 1945. And it goes on to show you how in 45 years, they have made a Congress of 30 members, male and female, trying to combine the different groups around the diaspora. Those in America, those in the West Indies, those in the Caribbean, those in the UK, and of course, those who operate out of Africa. Now, as we get into some of these personal stories here of these people, Again, I'm having some technical difficulties, so let me know if you can see or can't see the screen that I'm referencing, okay? So we're going to go down the line here. We're going to go very, very quickly, and then we'll get to some personal pictures, okay? Because I know a lot of you guys want to see my trip that I had, and I have some pictures from W.E.B. Doy's The House. All right, here we go. Hopefully you guys can see this. Now, this guy here, I don't know how to pronounce his name, so I won't even try because I butcher a lot of words that I don't know. But he is a Nigerian playwright, a novelist, poet, and essayist, and he's still alive. Now, he was known to be part of the Black nationalists, the Pan-African movement during the early, 1940s and 1950s. Okay, but this brother's still alive. He's 87 years of age. Moving right along. Let me see if I can do this. Give me 1 second here. Next on the list is John Henry Clark. I know a lot of foundational Black Americans are familiar with his work and him dealing with white supremacy and letting us know how to deconstruct and decipher what is and what is not. Dr. John Henry Clark was a Pan-Africanist writer, historian, professor, and a pioneer in the creation of African studies and professional institutions in academia starting in the late 1960s. Okay, so this whole Pan-African movement really started to die in the mid to early 2000s, right? Really at the end of the 1900s, but really going into the 2000s, the Pan-African movement has died because we haven't really seen any support from other groups around the diaspora. We haven't seen any group or unity from the brothers in the UK, and we're not saying all, okay? Nothing is all inclusive. Those from the Caribbean or those from the continent of Africa. What we've seen is the exact opposite. We've seen more division. We're seeing more disdain. We're seeing more hate and vitriol spewing out of those Black immigrants once they come to America. Because we understand the stances, the reason why our Black American people were fighting against oppression, was fighting against white supremacy, and getting reinforcements from the diaspora to help in the fight. And then we can all go to our different respective groups and let them know that you owe us reparation for the, in America, you had, of course, slavery. Also in Africa, you had colonialism, and also as well as Caribbean, you had both colonialism and slavery. So everybody needs to go to the person who owes them money. Okay. Moving right along. Let's see here. We can go to Marcus Garvey. And this is a quote from Marcus Garvey. I really like this quote. He says here, "A people without the knowledge of their past history, origin, and culture is like a tree without roots. We are entitled to our own opinions and not obligated to or bound by the opinions of others. We believe in the supreme authority of our race and all things racial." See, ladies and gentlemen, ever since the mid 1400s, where essentially the Spanish and the Portuguese really depicted that melanated people, highly melanated people out of the continent of Africa were going to become the world's slave, we've been talking about race ever since. And I know it gets tiring, it wears you down, but that's the only way you're going to fight white supremacy. That's the only way you're going to fight oppression, is to call it what it is, and you continue to call it what it is, so other generations do not have to go through what we have gone through, just like past generations had fought, bled, died, and marched for us to be one of the freest Black people in the world. Okay? Moving along. MLK. I really don't have too much to say about MLK. We already know about this brother. We know at the end of his life, he really turned more segregated than integrated, meaning that through his life, ladies and gentlemen, Martin Luther King spoke about nonviolence, but if you really go through his work, it's not that he's so much wanted to be nonviolent. He just knew that we don't have enough numbers, we don't have enough resources, we don't have enough know-how to actually fight physically against an opposing force that is stronger, like the U.S. military. We just don't have those numbers. We just don't have that equipment. But at the end of his life, and I forgot the name of his speech, and this is why Martin Luther King got assassinated, he started moving into Black nationalism, about that it's all about economics versus being nonviolent in marching for like voting and things of that matter. So a lot of people like to go here, oh, he was nonviolent, he was this, he was that. Martin Luther King was a beast, okay? And I'm not going to defame the guy's name by calling him a goon, but if goon was a good word, he was about that business and later in his life before he got assassinated. But this is why the brother had to get assassinated, because he was one of the unifying forces that actually collaborated people together, Black and white, to do essentially what he put on the agenda, right? Everywhere he marched, whatever he put on the agenda, people followed Martin Luther King, and they had to take his life, because when he got on Black nationalism and he started speaking about reparations, he started telling white people what they were doing to Black people. This is where his life got taken, okay? Now, you guys may not be familiar with this brother here, and I'm seeing him having problems, okay? George Pottermore, he was Pan-Africanist born. He was born in the early 1900s. He was an Afro-Caribbean. He was a Pan-Africanist, journalist, and author. And he was also part of the tour that I took visiting W.E.B. Du Bois' house in Accra, Ghana. Okay, I'm just going over some of the Pan-Africanists that you guys may already know, or you may not know. Okay, I'm not going to butcher this guy's name either, but he's a famous Brazilian writer and politician, and he also was a Pan-Africanist. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this particular gentleman. So I'm just pulling names out the head here. Now, I know this guy very, very, I studied this guy before, and his name, once again, Cheke Adot Diop. I totally butchered it, so my apologies. He was a Senegalese historian, anthropologist, physicist, and politician who studied the human race origin and pre-colonial African culture. That's why this particular gentleman was very, very important, okay? Because now, granted, he's still around, ladies and gentlemen. I think he passed away back in 1986. Yeah, that's right. I think he passed away back in 1986, nonetheless. That's why it seemed as though the marriage ended from 1953 to 1986. But anyway, he's the one that I really like to study, because he was looking at Africa pre-colonial, meaning what was Africa prior to the white supremacists coming in and drawing lines between countries, line between kingdoms, line between tribes. Because this is one of the biggest form of division today. Because some people will argue that's the reason why Black immigrants from the diaspora and foundational Black Americans clash so much, because it's a form of tribalism. They believe that we're a different tribe, and we know that you guys are a different tribe, but essentially we were the leaders in Pan-Africanism. We have a lot of leaders to show that, but at the same time, there's a division even within their own countries. Because when I was in Ghana, I can't really see that I saw tribalism up in my face, but there were some small distinctions when speaking to certain people and how certain people talk and refer to certain things. So the guy who was driving me around, he was from the Ashanti tribe. And I met some other people from the Airway tribe, and also the Nana tribe. And I asked him, I asked a couple of people, I said, would you allow your daughter to marry someone from the Ashanti tribe? Would you allow your daughter to marry someone from the Nana tribe? And unfortunately, family, I got a big fat no. And last but not least, we have Blyden Edward Wilmot. He was born in the Virgin Islands, and he also was a Pan-Africanist. So I'm just making sure you guys are familiar with some of the names here that I've shown you. Not to bore you guys by any sense of the word, but I want to make sure that you guys just kind of be familiar of some of the pictures that W.E.B. Du Bois had in his home, okay? These are some of the pictures that he had in his home. So with that being said, good evening, Jermaine Anderson. I see everybody's in the room. So I'm going to continue on. But this is a very important topic because whether it be your Jason Black, your Tariq Nasheed, your Professor Black Truth, your Phil Scotts, everybody's now coming out speaking about the vitriol and hate and division that a lot of Black immigrants come over from the continent. And granted, those Africans that I met in Ghana were some of the most loving people. I don't know what transformation, I don't know what occurs when they cross the waters and they reach America, but I can guess, right? They probably would ask us, what are you niggas? What are you niggas crying for? Because when I was in Ghana, right, there was a large part of the city that the roads were dirt. A lot of constructions were started but never finished. And then all the foreigners owned all the businesses. The Lebanese, the Indians, the Germans, the Italians, the Chinese. They owned everything, right? And the number one cause that they would tell you would be the government. It's the government. And sitting down for hours on end, listening to them, talking to them, and really find out that, the corruption is so great because their pockets are getting lined from foreign powers in order to essentially take the natural resources from the country and leave the people poor. I mean, I don't want to even do the math. Somebody can probably Google what's the poverty rate in Ghana. But on one side of Ghana, a very small pocket was very built up, right? It was built up. It was nice, street lights, roads paved, malls, expensive shops. And then on the other side of Accra in Ghana, it was very poor. And of course, the poor part was larger than the part that was, built up. And I was like, okay, well, I grew up in a Black neighborhood. I grew up poor, and I understand that. And being part of the first world compared to the third world, first world poverty is a lot better than third world poverty, let me tell you. They were living in shanty towns. They were living in sheet metal homes. They're still using the bathroom in the outhouse and taking showers in the outhouse. That was very surprising to me because when you go over to Africa, you're going over there with your American eyes. Right? This was my experience. And granted, family, I'm not into disrespecting other people, especially those who look like me, because we are genetically alike, right? We are genetically alike, but we are culturally different, right? In the way we think, in the way we speak, in the way we act, the way we respond to things, the way we critically break down things. We're just different. Because the difference is we were enslaved, beat, whelped, raped, hung, burned, dismembered, etc. And then we went through slavery, then we went through Jim Crow, the Black codes, etc. See, the white supremacists colonized a lot of these African countries. So essentially, when you colonize a group, you assimilate them by force. And a lot of them to this day still have a colonized mind. So I can understand the reason why Pan-Africanism doesn't work today. I mean, it's not like we're trying to cut off the umbilical cord of our cousins across the lake, but it has not worked for Black Americans to be Pan-Africanists, right? There's been really no movement. Think of the thing, right? So back in 2019, Ghana had the year of return. And I knew some people that went over there doing a year of return. They said it was a great time. They really had, it was a special moment. They could hear the ancestors call out to them. And I told people this prior to that. When I was there, when I went to the slave dungeons, I didn't hear any ancestors. I didn't really feel no energy. It is, it was scary, if anything. But nonetheless, the one thing I've noticed is a lot of these African countries, not all, some that call us back like a Ghana, they make it very, very very, very difficult for you to have dual citizenship. See, a lot of our people here in America are doing poorly as well. And if they wanted to visit Africa, you would need a large sum of money. Now, I'll throw out a ballpark figure of how much money essentially my family and I, spent to get to Ghana and the amount of money we spent in Ghana. I'll just give you a sum. Let's just say that it's been in the excess of $10,000. I see we have Authentic in the room, learning every day, and Roosevelt Neely. Nice to see you guys here this evening. But again, I had a really good time in Ghana, and I don't want to speak ill will about the people. But prior to me going, did you know I actually considered living in Africa, or living in Ghana rather, even before I went, because of all the great things I heard. But when I got there, leaving from the airport, do you know what I saw, family? I saw people pulling out their dicks. Literally, I'm not lying. Pulling out their dicks, just pissing on a main road like this right there in front of everyone. And I believe 3 days in, my wife and I, we was in, of course, with our driver. And this lady, she had a really nice, looked like a traditional dress on. Right on the side of the road where the sidewalk's supposed to be, spread her legs and took a piss. It blew our mind because, again, you go over there with your American eyes, and believe me, that's not the American culture. Now, I'm not going to say pissing in the streets and taking dumps in alleys and trash being everywhere and living in shanty towns is our culture, but this is what we witness. Now, if any of you guys have any questions, please let me know, as I'm just giving you some commentary here of my time in Ghana. As I said before, I'm having technical difficulties. That's not why I'm not on camera, but I am going to go through some pictures here of what I witnessed at the W.E.B. Du Bois home. Let me see if I can share the screen once again. I was having some issues here, family, so bear with me. Let me know if you can see it. All right, so this first picture here is the memorial house. He said this plaque was unrevealed by His Excellency Jerry John Rawlins, head of state and chairman of the PNDC, on Saturday, June 22nd, 1985. I don't know if you guys can see that. Just let me know. But I'm gonna cycle through some of these pictures. Now, believe it or not, this is where W.E.B. Du Bois is actually laid to rest. When he went over to Ghana, he was very, very old. He was in his, I think, early to mid 90s. And this is his actual burial place. Okay. He's actually supposedly, his remains is under this bedrock with his emblem on it. And of course, if you guys not familiar with W.E.B. Du Bois, he was also known to be part of the Boule. He also attended Harvard University. He was one of the most intelligent scholars of our century. Just to give you guys some more foreknowledge on that as well. Okay. Now, in recognition of our centennial anniversary and celebration of the 15th anniversary of the independence of Ghana, we honor the legacy of W.E.B. Du Bois, PhD, founder of Pan-Africanism, and distinguished member of Alpha Phi Alpha. Okay, so he was an Alpha. Let me move on. This is the house where he's laid to rest. This is in a compound in Accra, Ghana. Just got some picture here. And we're just going to go through some pictures here. Now, these are the pictures that they have displayed in his home. Okay, different significant historical features. You see Harry Tubman here. I'm circling through. Some of these names I won't even try to mention, ladies and gentlemen, because I just don't know how to pronounce it. We see Winnie Mandela. That is the wife of Nelson Mandela. We have Ogola Shakur, Miss Shirley Graham Du Bois, his wife. Miss Nina Goma Du Bois. And this was a tribute to women. Now, in this picture here, I believe the lady in the middle is his second wife. Now, this picture, top left, is very important because you have, on the left, you have Touré. You have Kwame Nkrumah in the middle, and then you have his wife. And then on the far right, you see W.E. Du Bois here with a flower in his jacket. I guess he was cool back then. This is another great picture that he had in his home of Malcolm X. Miss Shirley Graham Du Bois, that's her up close, and his second wife again. And that's Miss Nita Gomer. Now, I wasn't supposed to take a picture of this. This is his private book study in his home. We could not take pictures in this room, so I flashed it real quick, and that's why it's not as clear as the other pictures. Okay, and if we can zoom in on some of these pictures, ladies and gentlemen, this guy was very, very intelligent. Okay, very, very intelligent. Yeah, so Ricky Manners said he's buried in that house. Yes, that's what we were told. We were told he was buried in that house. Not okay. I'll say the place of his burial was not in the house where he lived, but it's on the same compound. It's only like 10 feet away where he was actually buried. Okay. I see we have Charles Williams in the room as well. You know, if you guys are not familiar, and I was trying to find this on the internet, but W.E.B. Du Bois and others were trying to create a African encyclopedia about each African country, and we got to witness 3 or 4 copies. One was on Ghana, one was on Ethiopia, Egypt, Nigeria, South Africa, and they stopped right there. They got pretty much some of the most famous African countries that we know of today, but nonetheless, they were going to do every African country. And again, I could not take pictures of that. Believe me, I tried, family. I tried. And I have some other pictures here that we took while we was there. I'll show you this picture as well. Let me see if I can get this over here. What's going on, everyone? Currently, I'm in Accra, Ghana. Having some technical difficulties, of course. Let's look at this. Let's look at this. Let's see if we can get this pop. At the W.E.B. Du Bois Memorial Center for Pan-African Culture. And we came inside the gate, right beyond that car. It's going to do a quick span here. We're going to try to go into this museum, see if this is open. That's my lovely family.
So it's fantastic. Can you try?
Aquaba.
Oh, so I'm gonna ask you about your house now. Oh, welcome to my home. And it was fantastic. Thank you. So let's try.
Madassa.
I'm your side guide here. This is a house of Dr. Dr. Du Bois made this house to own to. He died in this house and buried in one of this. Dr. Du Bois was appointed by the Pan-Africanism in 1961, and the vision was to create a document called the Encyclopedia Africana Dictionary of African Languages. It was a document to tell the history of Africans, who they are, what they have, and what they can use our resources. And it's all come together, stand firm, fight for their rights, their freedom, and their punishment. May ask you, Dr. Du Bois. It was a candidate, a communist.
I'm gonna speed this up, some family.
And the main motive.
This is just me glancing over some of the pictures, and they're trying to show that, basically Africans, Black Americans, we are doctors, we are lawyers. We can be any and everything that everybody else is, basically. Let me know if you guys are experiencing any technical difficulties on your side.
Also, the boys stand for education, so there's room is now in public library, and everyone is welcome at any time to come and meet any
These are some of the pictures that I was showing you guys, located on the thumbnail.
Library as well. Oh, okay. And these are all Dr. Du Bois books.
No, please. This is a collection of the Ministry of Tourism and also relations. They go to the Vice National Library. And that was the great wonder.
And again, family, this is in W.E.B. Du Bois' home. That's George Pattermore. We already went over him. Of course, that's Rosa Parks.
They live in Great Barrington in Massachusetts. The boys arrived in this house in 1961 at the age of 93. Died on 27th August 1963 at the age of 85. And married a month of February, so if Dr. was going to be alive,
I know it's very hard to hear her with the accent, of course, with her mask. But again, these are the pictures that were displayed in W.E.B. Du Bois' home.
the month of celebration to honor the past and the present life of Black people. And have this flag over here. Has someone seen any lay of this Palestinian before? Or this flag before? Has someone shared anything about this Palestine?
Oh, no. Go ahead.
Oh, I thought you were saying something about the Palestine.
I mean, it's Pan-African colors.
Okay, so let's go there, right?
Okay.
Represent. Yeah, let's get to you. The flag. Yes, that's the flag.
The skin.
Flag in the beautiful land. And this flag land. And this flag was from a flag. And that makes it all Africa. So when they were like, as much in the college, so that not so the meaning.
But anyway, family, I don't want to go over this too long when it comes to this particular tour, but we took a tour of W.E.B. Du Bois' home. Now, let me speak about one of the most important figures in Ghana's history is Kwame Nkrumah. Now, I've gained a lot of respect learning more about him. He was the first president of Ghana after colonialism, or after they gained their independence. He became the president in 1960. Of course, he was a politician, revolutionary. He's the one who essentially led the Gold Coast to independence from Great Britain in 1957. A lot of great respect goes out to this guy. And he's the one who essentially made a lot of connections with China, believe it or not. Okay, he made a lot of connections with China. And I'm going to show you a picture of where he's buried. And the reason why it's important is because China built this for absolutely free. And for me, that was astonishing because we know that essentially the Chinese don't do nothing for free. But out of respect for Kwame Nkrumah and the connection he made, they paid homage and built this structure out of marble. As I'm speaking to you here, I'm trying to look through some of the pictures I have to show you exactly what the structure looked like. I'm pretty sure that a lot of you guys who've been, if you visited Ghana, if you done some research on Ghana and the things you're going to do once you get there, you've probably seen this particular structure. And I'm about to show you right here. So here's a structure that the Chinese made out of marble. And him and his wife. Now, I believe this was the second wife that was buried beside him. She was Egyptian, but he's right through this marble structure in the middle of it. And the Chinese built this for absolutely free. They did a lot of the work here in this sort of Kwame Nkrumah grounds, this sort of tribute to his life. Because as I was going in some of the pictures that I really couldn't take pictures of, he met with almost every world leader. Now, as a president should, but think about the time. This was during the early 1960s. and this is what Ghana first gaining independence. But he was building partnerships, right? He was building partnership with anyone, essentially, even with some of the colonial figures that he got free from. But he essentially made a lot of ties with the Chinese in order to help build Ghana back up, because under colonialism, they made sure they didn't teach the Ghanaian people anything, right? So they were behind the power curve when it came to infrastructure. And so now they're depending heavily on the Chinese, but the Chinese of old is not the Chinese of today. I don't know if the two are different, but I'm just saying I believe that he vetted them in such a way that he knew that they were going to do great things, but he didn't know how it was going to turn out to be today. Now, believe it or not, W.E.B. Du Bois had great relationship with the Chinese as well. All of this is staggering information that I found just by going to Ghana. I never found this or read about this in a book. I never heard anyone speak about this. I didn't know that this relationships with W.E. Du Bois, Kwame Nkrumah, and the Chinese even existed. And this is the reason why the Chinese have a large foothold in Ghana. And the reason why I say foothold instead of partnership is because the Chinese of today is exploiting Ghana for its natural resources, mainly gold. Take, for instance, I was speaking to a gentleman who I believe worked on a road. And I was asking about, why is the road, essentially taking so long? He like, oh, yeah, this road, they've been trying to build this road for the past 3-4 years. I'm like, a road? In America, it takes about a week to pave a road, if not shorter. And he was stating that, well, when the government pays the Chinese, for infrastructure and improve roads, the first thing that the Chinese do is dig. I said, oh, yeah, you got to dig and level off the road. No. They dig for gold first. And that's why you see sometimes in world news, whether you're watching CNN International like I do sometimes, or the BBC, they do a lot of international news, that a lot of Chinese citizens are getting locked up in different places around in the continent of Africa for violence on the African people, for illegal mining. This is what they do, family. And my wife and I, we were astonished of the white supremacy mindset that our African cousins, our African brothers and sisters has allowed to happen even after colonialism, right? And so you have to understand the mindset that a lot of immigrants come over here with a country like America, right? They look at us as very, very privileged. Now, this is my perspective. This is my bias. So judge me as you may. And so when they come over here and they hear us so-called complaining, not fighting against white supremacy, not trying to, improve our lifestyle, not, going against the government for things that are owed to us, but it's just as privileged niggas who is trying to get over on the white man and look at the country that we live in, that we're privileged. Like, no, you allowed them to colonize you. You're still allowed to exploit you. And now you're coming over here with your vitriol, but you want to go back to your own country. I won't get into that argument. I won't get into that fight. I'm not here to spew any discord between African descendant people, wherever we may essentially originated from, right? Because if Africa is the cradle of life, then essentially everyone's from Africa. Don't matter what color you are. But nonetheless, I digress on that notion. But Kwame Nkrumah was a huge part of Ghana in the way that Ghana is today. Now, granted, some people say, hey, Ross, would you go over there and live in Ghana? Absolutely not. I will not. You know why? I'm American. Now, the family and I, we are planning the trip. We have a couple of more places that we want to visit in Africa. And just to name a couple, we want to visit Rwanda, and we also want to see Rwanda, Tanzania, and South Africa. We want to visit some of those countries. We believe we saw that in Rwanda, Kigali, the capital, that the President Paul Kagame has done a lot of great things. So we want to see how Rwanda stacks up against Ghana. Now, Rwanda is even smaller than Ghana. Now, granted, don't get me wrong. There's a lot to be seen. There's a lot of, I can't say that. I've been looking at a lot of YouTubers pages about Ghana, and the only thing they show you, right, it's kind of disingenuous. The only thing they show you is all the great things about Ghana. Now, I've showed you great things here on this channel. the trip and the family that my family has had, the time that we've had there in Ghana. But I've also showed you the bad and the good. Like, it goes without saying, family, when you go over there, just go over there with your eyes open versus your heart. I don't want to say that because, again, touching down in Africa, you believe it's this connection of you returning back to the homeland. I did not feel that connection, right? But I know that my ancestry has come from this continent by way of hook or crook, right? Essentially, we know that a lot of us mixed in with the indigenous people of America, who was also supposedly melanated before the so-called Native Americans of the Mongolian southern type looked prior to the mixing. So a lot of us have lineage in American Indian culture as well versus the Native American. And that's a difference in that. You probably have to look at for yourself. I really don't want to break that down, but there is a distinct difference of lineage in history, American Indian against the Native American. And you don't really hear people speaking about American Indians because they were so-called melanated people. Some of them were already here, indigenous and aboriginal to the land of North America. And some of them mixed in with tribes like Blackfoot and the Seminoles, etc. So in the Choctaw, there's a lot to be said there. So I won't go into history there. I don't have my notes in front of me, so I don't want to misspeak too much. I see that Steve Bryan said Uganda is good to me. That's right. I think that brother's over there now. Let me read some of your notes here before I start to ramble. Ricky Mann said I would like to get my hands on those books. Ricky Mann also said I left my email. Okay, brother, I'll check for that. Oh, you're saying you're hearing an echo. Hopefully you don't hear that anymore. Let me know if you guys are hearing an echo. Like I said before, I built this new computer and I got a lot of bugs I need to fix. Let's see. Steve Bryan said, I found a brother that could relate to and doing my research before moving to Uganda. He developed a friendship and there was no romanticizing. But yeah, family, in my humble opinion, I believe that you guys should visit a African country. I am not promoting or advertising for Ghana per se, but I think for me, Ghana was the number one country I wanted to visit first, because out of the over 50 something countries in Africa, Ghana has been by far the one country that seems to accept Black Americans a lot more than any other country. And that's only because they call out to us, right? Return home, the right to abode, and this, that, and the other. And so a lot of people are tending to go to, a lot of Black Americans are going to Ghana, not in droves, not in the same amount that they're coming over here. So let's not get that twisted. There's not a shipload of Black Americans moving to Ghana. That's not the truth. You got your onesies and twosies, right? I was, essentially looking into it. But again, at the end of the day, when you are an American and you visit some other place that you can't really find yourself comfortable in, you won't do it. But I think we should take a deeper dive into the right to abode, because I know a lot of you really looked into moving to Africa, right? Because you're getting tired of white supremacy. Let me tell you, family, first and foremost, white supremacy is global, and white supremacy is in Ghana. Even though the Ghanaians outnumber the Lebanese, the Chinese, the Indians put together, hate to tell you, it's still there. It's still there, family. And the whole right to abode when it comes to Ghana, a lot of people think that it'd be very, very easy to get dual citizenship. It really is not as easy as you think. And the reason why I say that, if you're broke, you can't go. You can't get the right to abode, family. Right here it says the first category may be granted to a citizen who has lost their Ghanaian citizenship by reason of having acquired the citizenship of another country. If such a person wishes to require Ghanaian citizenship, they may apply and be granted a right of abode. Now, we know a lot of our so-called ancestors who came out of West Africa went through the gate, went through the doors of no return in the Cape Castle on the shores of Accra, Ghana. Well, not Accra, but I believe Cape Coast, I think, is north of Accra, I believe. I could be mistaken, but it's not in Accra. Cape Coast is another city. But if you do your research on this family, I'm just going to go over here to the right of abode, Ghana Immigration Service, and we're freestyling right here. We're freestyling. And it says here, requirements of right of abode. Applicants should be good of good character as attested to in writing by two Ghanaians who are notary public, lawyer, senior public officer, or any other class of persons approved by the minister. Applicants should not have been convicted of any criminal offense and sentenced to a period of imprisonment of 12 months or more. Applicants should be of independent means. Applicants should have or is in the opinion of the minister capable of making a substantial contribution to the development of Ghana. What does that essentially mean? That means you have to go over there with money. That means you have to go over there and put into the economy versus take away from the government. See, what we need to understand, family, the huge difference between African countries who are the richest land in the world versus the poorest land in the world in America. When I mean poor, I mean as in resources, is that when a lot of immigrants come over here, they would tell you they don't get assistance, but there are programs for immigrants and migrants that come over to America. That's why they come. They have all sorts of benefits. Now, I know a lot of people, when I start speaking like this, show us a receipt, show us what you're talking about. Nigga, research, okay, like I did. You research just like everyone. Believe me, Black immigrants get benefits of some sort, okay? They don't just come over here empty-handed. And usually, the ones that do come over here, they're the best of their country. So it's very easy for them to compare themselves against our low vibrational criminals in the hood. You know, your Shaniquas, your your Pookies and Ray Rays. It's very easy for them to be compared. But when you go to their country, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about 50 to 60% of their country is impoverished. And they're willing and dealing, trying to make it. I get it. That's why I don't like to say a lot of negative things about Black immigrants, because once you visit the Caribbean, once you visit Africa, how can you spew such hatred against Black Americans and speak about our low level class versus the majority of your fucking country? Excuse my English. And that's just the truth of the matter. So really, it's a no argument with me. Like, you can say what you want to say. You can try to counter. You can do all of those things. But at the end of the day, I've been there. I've done that. I saw it. When I went to Jamaica, let me tell you, when I went to Jamaica, I had an awesome time. Of course, I was on a resort that was made by who? It was made by a European. Every place that I've been, Dominican Republic, Jamaica, the Bahamas, every place that I've visited and stayed on the resort, that resort was not owned by those people. When I went to the Dominican Republic, the resort I lived on was not owned by any of the Dominicans. It was owned by some Europeans. When I went to the Bahamas, when I said a resort, Europeans own that resort. When I mean Europeans, that either people who derive from Europe or those people who live in Europe. So they can be in America or anywhere around the world. So again, these Pan-Africanists sought off in the early 1900s to unify the diaspora, whether you be in America, the West Indies, the Caribbean, the UK, and Africa. But that connection, that family, that unification has been severed by the colonization of African and Caribbean minds. And this is why so many people are speaking out against it. It's because you don't see Black Americans in large numbers going to get cake soap or bleaching creams. That's not really essentially part of our culture. Now, granted, there was a time in America where we did have colorism. We did have colorism because I was a victim of colorism, right? I'm a dark-skinned, melanated guy. And going up in high school, all the girls were the light-skinned guys. And then if you really listen to early 2000s rap, all the rappers was talking about a red bone and a light skin. That's a form of colorism. But thank God that white supremacy has knocked on the door, and you see colorism in the Foundation of Black American Family no more. You don't hear about colorism no more. But we did have a stint about 20 to 30 years of colorism. I know some people are going to bring up the brown paper bag girls, but we have to understand that was a part of the culture where they were part of the boule. But we're talking about as recent as the late 1990s and the early 2000s. In America, we did have a very, very small form of colorism, but not only in a lot of these Caribbean and African countries, especially when colorism going down to South Africa, you know, they have colorism times 10, okay? Because you have your blacks and you have your colors, meaning mixed people, and you have your close to whites. They have all sorts of names down there. But nonetheless, we don't have the same issues, and we don't have a form of tribalism, right? We have our certain sects, we have our certain groups. People from the West speak like this, people from the South talk like that, people from the North act like this. But at the end of the day, we're willing to go to bout for each and one of us. We have a form of unification. It's because of a lot of our forefathers, ancestors, and leaders who unified that mindset for us to go along. And this is why I really don't talk about Christianity. You know I'm lying, right? I talk about it a lot. Because when the Europeans went over to Ghana, by the way of Egypt, Egypt had a form of religion that the Europeans essentially stole, mixed and mastered it, and called it Christianity. The Egyptians didn't call it Christianity. That's why I don't say, it was a form of African Christianity. No. It was not Christianity in no sort. And if you're a believer, believe what you want. And I'm not trying to take you from your God, but you have to understand how you have received Christianity. Think about it. I talked to my Ghanaian driver and I said, are you a Christian? He's like, yeah, I'm a Christian. I said, why are you a Christian? I just wanted to know. I'm a very curious person, right? And we had a very long discussion. And I said, well, you know, when I was on the tour of the Cape Coast, and I think I might go there, family. I think I'm gonna show this one last video because I want you to hear from the horse's mouth, so to speak, and not me, because this is the history of how Christianity essentially got into Ghana. When they went over and they colonized Ghana, they took two Ghanaians and brought them to Europe and indoctrinated them with Christianity. Why would you do that? Because they already knew by practicing Christianity on their own people, they understood that it controlled them. Let me see if I can find this. Here we go. Let's see if I can find this. Give me 1 second, family.
They had one major problem, the language barrier. Because the Africans had their own language. So the British, what they did was that they took some African boys from the town to England to train them as missionaries so they could bring them back and use them to preach to local people. One of these boys came back alive, named Kweku. And Kweku, the name given to a Wayne's Mambo. One of these boys Kweku was born in the town in 1741. And his father.
Give me 1 second, family. I do hear some echo in there. Give me 1 second. Make sure I can get this echoing out here. Let me try again.
Father was a direct beneficiary of the transatlantic slave trade. The father was a middleman who used to bring Africans here to auction to the British. But the father was a very wealthy man in the community.
I bet.
At a very young age of just about 11 years old, the British convinced the father and they took him to England. In England, he became an Anglican minister. He was the first non-European to be ordained a priest by the Anglican.
Bear with me, family. I tried to get rid of the echoing, but it's not going away.
They brought him back. When he came back, he had a new name. So in England, he was baptized, given the name Philip. And over there, they were mispronouncing his original name. Kweku sounded as Papu. So the name changed from Kweku to Philip Papu. And the British used him during the slave trade. He stayed here preaching Christianity to his people in the town. So there is an Anglican church named after him, the Reverend Philip Papu Anglican Church. He also was used to promote Western education. So there are some schools as well named after him. Now, he died in 1816 at the age of 75. So he is one African who was used by the British to promote Christianity and Western education among the Africans in the community. Reverend Philip Papu.
Did they take parts out of the Bible where they were trying to teach Christianity?
Oh yeah, they were very selective for the scriptures. You know, they preached. They did focus on scriptures to justify. You know, in the Bible there are scriptures that talk about the slave, the master, and all that. The story of Noah and his sons, the three sons. The one who looked at his nakedness was cursed, but his descendants of the slaves to their descendants. So they used
To justify what they were doing.
Yeah, you know, and the Christianity the Europeans brought, it had nothing to do with salvation. It was for a purpose. They came with a white Jesus, and even today in some of our churches, you still find the pictures of white, blonde hair, white man, blue eyes, you know.
Yeah, in America too.
Oh, so they came with that.
He was saying, still in some of their churches, you see white
Satan,
Jesus.
the demons always look just like you and I. We're black people.
He was saying, still in some of their churches, you see.
The angels were always white. Even at the very early stages of the churches, I grew up as a Catholic when I was a kid.
Catholic?
Yes.
Okay.
And in church, I was hearing more Latin than my own. Like I don't understand what they're saying. They say there's a response. So in the very beginning, they did not even allow African drums in the church. The dressing, it had to be European. You know, so it was like, it's only now that they are infusing, you know, African culture and all that. But in the beginning, these things were banned because they were seen as inferior. They were seen as, you know, evil and all that. So the Christianity they came with, it was to serve a purpose. And that was to brainwash people to elevate the white as superior to the black. That was it.
Prior to the 1500s, was there any sort of like Christianity or the Bible in Africa, or they brought it with them?
Oh, there was. Ethiopia, Christianity had been there for...
So Ethiopia had the first part of Christianity.
Yes, in Africa it was Ethiopia.
Who brought it to Ethiopia?
Oh, in the Bible, Philip in the Bible, the Enoch he was from Ethiopia.
Okay.
So it had been to Ethiopia, Egypt. Christ was he smuggled to Egypt when the Pharaoh wanted to kill the kids or something like that. So it had been to Ethiopia, Egypt, and all that. But in West Africa, the Europeans who came to build these castles, they brought Christianity to West Africa. Yeah. But Ethiopia, it had been there years, centuries, before these Europeans. But on our shores, it started.
So did it start in Ethiopia or did it start in Europe and they brought it to Ethiopia?
Christianity?
Yes.
Oh, no. It was in, I think it was in, what do you call it? Ethiopia long before, you know, the Romans kind of took up Christianity.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think it was called Christianity. Like you mentioned they had the Old Testament stuff, so Moses and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Right there, he said that the Romans took Christianity.
I think that Ethiopia, you find what they call the Orthodox churches there. That's what they call it.
Orthodox.
Yes.
Yes.
So it, like I said, it's a bit different from the Christianity
Of today.
Yes.
So they mixed and mastered it. That's
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're very selective with the scriptures. You know. And even today, yeah, Ghanaians are very selective with the scriptures. The Mishnah.
All right, family. So
Major problem.
that's
The language
essentially
barrier.
what the brother was talking
Because the
about
Africans are the
when I was there, and this is a small version of how Christianity got into Ghana from a Ghanaian perspective and historian. He's a historian who gave the tour, and what he also stated when we was going through the slave dungeons, which is a version, the female quarters right behind him, as you saw in the video, that they were having church right above. This is laughable. They had church right above where the slaves were being held. And so a lot of us were indoctrinated from our parents, generations down. So think about this. Christianity was forced on enslaved Africans leaving the door of no return out of Cape Coast, out of the castle where essentially the Danish, the Swedish built the castle, the British took over it, blah, 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 right? A lot of history there, probably took a left turn. So don't quote me exactly, but nonetheless, they was already indoctrinated with Christianity. So when they came over to the Caribbean, also the Americas, they reinforced that Christianity narrative for a sense of control. Why would you teach the people that you are capturing, that you're trading, that you are enslaving? Why would you give them freedom? Why would you give them ascension to a heaven, to this great place, as you rape, kill, murder, dismember, hang, burn, all of these great things? Just ask yourself that question. You can keep on praying. You can keep on praising. Hallelujah, Yahweh, Jehovah Jireh, your provider, whoever he may be. You can keep on praising. I just want you to ask yourself that question. Because again, I just trying to give you a different perspective, and I'm not trying to move you away from your faith. Just think about it. Think about where we come from. Think about where we are today. Think about the people who look just like you. We're essentially, if you put us in one large group, all melanated people, which we're the most populated, right? There's more melanated people around the world than anyone else. And we all believe in this deity that was given to us essentially through the eyes of white supremacy, through the eyes of slave catchers, through the eyes of slave masters. And we're still practicing that religion today. And just like anything we do, right? Either we are the originators of something, or we see or read something and we mix and master it, right? First there was white Jesus. Now, no, Jesus was black, right? And I've made this correlation before. I actually did a video on it that, his hair was of wool, his feet was of brass. Ladies and gentlemen, if you ever been to the Middle East, Middle Eastern men feet of a brass. Like there's different, color and shades of brass. And their hair is woolly too, because they're in the sun as well. I digress there. Okay. Like I did a video on that. You might can find that out of the many videos I do. But again, I just like to give perspective on things because so much history here, so much to unpack when I was in Ghana, going through those slave dungeons. And how can a people treat another people in a particular manner and still give them spiritual freedom? I digress. Let me read some of your notes and I'm gonna get out of here for tonight. I see them a little bit over an hour. I don't want to start to ramble. Charles Williams says, are there Chinese becoming Ghanaian citizens or just working there? As far as I know, Charles, they're just working there or stealing there or robbing there. Steve Brown said, Ghana was one on my list too until I asked a sister why she chose Rwanda. Her analysis was priceless. Steve Brown also said, HBCUs, right? The financial aid line during registration. You don't have your money right. Well, that's West Africa compared to East Africa. Indeed. And learning every day, you're absolutely right, brother. It's definitely a monopoly. And this is how it is done. So these groups, like the Lebanese, the Italians, the Germans, the Indians, and also the Chinese. They go over to countries like Ghana and they talk to their parliament, they talk to their government, and say, hey, we're going to give you $10 billion. Now, a portion of that you can keep, but you're going to have to pay back, say, $6 billion. But we want some of these resources. We want some of this precious metals here, because this is some of the precious metals that go into phones. I know Kenya has a large deposit of that special metal that goes in every cell phone. But like Ghana coined the Gold Coast because of all the riches and soil and gold that they have, and also the timber as well as the cocoa. And that's why President Nana Akufo-Addo, he told Switzerland, he said, hey, listen, you're no longer going to get raw cocoa beans from Ghana. You know, you guys have been stamping Switzerland on and been making millions and billions of dollars off of our cocoa and not giving us any credit and essentially any money from which it's worth, or the money you've been making from it. So he balanced that one thing. But some Ghanaian citizen told me some things about, you know, him and the government that I'm not going to say here. Again, I'm not trying to defame anyone. I digress. See, Brian says, I agree. There is no red carpet of support for Black Americans desiring to live in Africa. It's extremely disrespectful to come to America spitting vitriol on the ones who made the carpet. Exactly. Steve Brown also says, I once held up to my mom a Jesus image from Newsweek mag cover and a photo of the KKK in full robe while in church with a huge Jesus Saves sign behind them. I told her only one of these is a real photo, and she still didn't get it. Steve, brother, listen, our mothers, fathers, our grandfathers and grandmothers, they're so heavily indoctrinated in the Christian faith, and they don't even understand the historical reference or the historical origin, rather. And it takes a lot of studying. It takes a lot of critical thinking and deciphering how we receive this so-called white supremacist religion. Now, some people will tell you that Christianity prior to colonization derived anywhere between Ethiopia and Egypt. But again, they did not call it Christianity. And then once again, they died. I can't even make a really good correlation or example for you guys. But if it was a T-shirt, the T-shirt was white. No, excuse me. The T-shirt was black and they dyed it white. That's pretty much all I have for you guys. But anyway, I'm rambling here. That's pretty much what I have for you guys this evening. Hopefully you got some really good insight. And I think I'm going to do a recap of my Ghana trip, maybe this Saturday, where I'm going to show a little more videos and things of that nature. But yeah, I think I'm going to show some my videos in whole, because the brother had a lot to say on this particular tour. You guys have a great and wonderful night. And Ricky, I will check for that email. This is Financial Literacy 101, just breaking down my trip to Ghana. And this was based upon Pan-Africanism. You guys have a good one.